In 1996, on the coastal roads of Mumbai, a young rickshaw driver picked up a woman in red, carrying a child. He thought it was just another fare, but that night, something followed him home. This story comes from Gorai, and if the whispers are true, it will haunt you long after it ends. Old drivers warned about the creek road. They said some passengers don't belong on those nights, and it's better not to find out why. Ramesh had heard those stories. He laughed them off, until the night he found out they weren't jokes. It was the monsoon of 1996. That night, close to 1 a.m., the road was empty. No moon, just thunder, trees. The rain poured heavy, rattling against the rickshaw's canopy. Back then, Payandar to Gorai was nothing but swamp, stone, and silence after dark. Ramesh Pawar was just 24. Young, fearless. The kind who laughed at ghost stories over hot tea at the roadside tea stall. He drove nights for a living, always said the roads were cooler, the fares more generous, and there was no traffic to fight. But that night was different. It was Amavasya, a no-moon night, the kind older drivers whispered about, the kind that felt heavier than rain. After dropping off a passenger at Bhayandar, he turned back toward Gorai. The storm was still raging. His seat was damp with the smell of diesel and wet rubber. But he wanted one more fare. He took the creek road, a narrow stretch lined with trees. No streetlights, no signboards, no sound except frogs, wind, and the buzz of his engine. Then, the frogs went silent. The air grew colder. His rearview mirror fogged up for no reason, and that's when he saw her. She was standing on the roadside, completely drenched. A deep red sari clung to her body, shimmering in his headlights. The pleats hugged her slim waist. Her blouse, sheer from the rain, revealed the faintest curve beneath. Her wet hair draped over one shoulder. In her arm, a child, about 2 years old, wrapped in cloth, silent, unmoving, too still, like a doll. And though the blanket was tight, drops of water kept dripping onto the floor. Ramesh stopped. "Going somewhere?" he asked, smiling. She stepped in, placed the child carefully on her lap. Only then did she speak. Creek Road, just past the ice cream stand. Her voice was soft, calm, no fear, no hesitation. Ramesh tried to make conversation. He liked chatting during night drives. It kept him awake, but she barely nodded, never smiled. Still, she was beautiful. Not like city girls with lipstick and perfume. Something raw, striking, like she'd stepped out of a film reel, soaked in stormlight. And the child? The child never moved. Not when thunder cracked overhead. Not when the rickshaw jolted over potholes. Not even when a stray dog barked and chased the wheels. Ramesh swore for a moment the child's eyes were open, but they didn't reflect the light. They just stared, empty. "The child okay?" he finally asked. The woman looked down, tucking the blanket tighter. "The child is fine. Just needs rest. I'll pay you tomorrow night, same place, for both rides. I had to rush." For the first time, she looked up. Her eyes weren't afraid. They weren't guilty. They were grateful. Ramesh nodded. He wasn't going to argue. She stepped out at the turn past the ice cream stand, disappeared into the narrow path between trees. By the time she reached the bend, she was only shadows. The next evening, 6 p.m., Ramesh joined the other rickshaw drivers at the tea stall. They sipped tea, joked, laughed. He leaned in. "Last night, I had a passenger who looked like a movie star." He grinned. "Red sari, slim waist, soaked to the bone, gorgeous, carried a child like it weighed nothing." The men laughed and teased until the police jeep pulled up. 2 officers stepped out. One held a photo. "We're looking for this child. The mother went missing 3 nights ago near Gorai. Her body was found yesterday, dumped in the marsh behind the bend. But the child is still missing." One of the officers muttered under his breath. "Strangest part is, the ice cream seller swears he saw her last night, after she was already dead. The photo was damp, faded from a fax machine, but the face was clear. The same woman, the same child, the same red sari." Ramesh froze. He couldn't speak. He couldn't move. She never paid. Because she was never meant to. Because she was already gone. The back seat of his rickshaw stayed damp for 3 nights. And even now, every no-moon night, he never drives the creek road. Because sometimes when it rains, the woman in red still waits. With a child that never cries. And if you dare check your rearview mirror, you might just see her. Soaked, silent, watching. She's still waiting, still searching. If you're still listening, you've survived another true horror from the dark side of India. If this story haunted you, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Would you stop for a woman in red? Check your mirror tonight. She might already be there.